Okay. Hi everyone. I feel this is a little unfair because that's not what my presentation is about. I feel like I have to apologize up front. So I feel like I need to introduce myself anyway. Hi everyone, my name is Miguel Coquet. I have a slide about that in a second. But I do feel like I have to apologize for a couple of reasons. One of them is I am abnormally tired today, and that might show up in my performance. I will forget things. That is not because I'm tired. Yeah, that's enough. Enough things to apologize about. No, just a heads up. Might be a bit off. And I didn't practice this much. I created these slides. I finished creating these slides it was maybe 2 a.m. yesterday. I've started the research for this a while back, but I'm a person that seems to deliver under pressure only, not optional. So, okay, so the Headmaster Pattern. Do not try to search for this. This is completely like I made it up. It's not a thing. I will talk a little bit about how this shows up in industry, but the major topic, it's something I started kind of seeing and emerging, and that's a theme of the presentation. And this is by no means like super science fiction. If you're doing anything agentic at this point, I'm not sure I'm going to teach you anything useful. But I collected a few things that I think are important teachings. Oh, I have to restart my timer, sorry. It's been here. Okay, so it says here I have 30 seconds for this slide. Winning. Okay, so, hi, I'm Miguel Coquet. I'm a software engineer for too many years to count, and apparently there's a number up there that I'm ashamed of saying out loud. And I've been, I work as a CTO and co-founding engineer for my own tech startup. And my day job is, what pays the bills, is I'm CTO at Navi, which is a digital product building company based in Berlin. The goal of this talk is, actually no, I can move on. Winning again, yes. I'm racing against time. So everyone is mostly using agents by now, either to get code completions or to get full agentic workflows or check my email or stuff like that. A lot of people are experimenting with a lot of things. In the software engineering part, at least, it's a big theme right now. Sorry, this is going to happen a lot. In the software engineering spaces, this is a big theme right now. It's writing code, it's writing great code. I have to spy my notes. Yes, there's other stuff that can be done with it as well, and that's kind of where we're going to go here. What I'm seeing, so agentic tools, agentic use of tools, it has been emerging for, I guess, the past couple of years. I don't know if it's years, but this is pretty much observed by now. What I'm bringing here is a specific context of it. Not really building code, but everything else that happens when you have to run software, build and run. Everything that isn't writing code. Yeah. In this space, there's tools like Warp, Warp.dev, you might know. They decided to do a coding agent as well, but in my humble opinion, they had a really interesting niche of sharing and automating, which is a topic here, operations, SRE sort of work. Obviously, Cursor, Windsurf, Kiro, these all are doing way beyond code completions. AIs are writing a lot of the code that is getting handled. But the blast radius is real. So I guess this slide without context is stupid. So let me explain. I don't know if you guys saw in the news, Amazon kind of screwed the pooch. They were down for 13 hours because an agent decided to destroy and rebuild a production database. A lot of money was lost that day. There was a bit of whitewashing, in if that's a useful term, in how it was communicated. They framed it maybe as a tooling problem, which is fair, I think, but it's agentic, right? It's a problem that's coming up more often because agents are involved, because they're given more free rein. And this is happening because we're essentially moving these agents not just from, hey, generate code for me or generate text for me, but into the space of do things for me. A lot of people, I don't have it here, but a lot of people have been in contact with OpenClaw, for example, and there's at least two topics in the conference today, one workshop, one presentation, around that tool, which is exactly in the space of us handing over the keys and letting the agents drive. So, autonomous agents in ops need thoughtful scoping, and I'm here just to kind of go through a little bit of how I've been dealing with that, how I've been trying to make use of these tools and in a thoughtful way. So the Headmaster Pattern comes up. In this case, the idea is not building the code, but everything that has to be done besides the code. All functioning like a chief of staff sort of position. Someone that is your personal Alfred for your Batman. The work between the work. Task tracker updates, production status checks, infrastructure and compliance. I'm just reading off the slides now, and I'm gonna continue doing it until I'm at the end of the, okay, got it. Essentially this. So this probably describes what, if you're a software engineer, you know this is actually most of everything else you have to do, rather than just writing code, right? This is the work. This is the actual work, I would say. We are, as an industry, looking at a moment where we are questioning our own position in it, because our identity has been tied to writing code, lines of code. The cost of line of code was high in terms of human time. What ended up being an afterthought were these things. In places where this is taken seriously, you have quite high quality collaboration, high quality deliveries. In places where this is not taken seriously, these other tasks are not taken seriously, you have various levels of random quality. Because software engineering is mostly communication, and in asynchronous environments, that's writing. Writing the right things in the right place, to the right people, the right audience as well. And this is kind of a hidden necessity, a hidden quality, a hidden work that is actually good engineering. And for us, this happens in these tasks. Updates to the team, is infrastructure running well, reviewing what is happening in these environments, and doing a lot of the ops work. I don't know why I put it was late. I don't know why I put this slide up there. But the general sentiment is wherever you place the agent gives you different context. The idea here is to just surface the idea that you can have an agent that is responsible for the documentation of your code, or an agent that is responsible for doing operations sort of things, and an agent that is responsible for code. In this case, I was trying to highlight this pattern. I was kind of trying to force it now that I look at it. You usually put your source in the source root, in the source file. The root of the project is usually where configurations and documentation lives. And I kind of went a step further and said and created this Headmaster Pattern. And the Headmaster Pattern is essentially if you have multiple projects inside a master project, this is where your headmaster needs to live. Your headmaster is the connecting glue to all of these. The idea is if you have a front-end service, a back-end, 10, 3, whatever number, back-end services, they all have their own subfolders. Hey, our youngest member ever. There's a baby in the room for the camera. Where was I? Yes. So the idea of the headmaster pattern is an agent to know all of the things of your project, to be the glue for your brain. Your personal Alfred for your Batman. So this is kind of what it looks like. It's not magic. Essentially, you might recognize this. There's a sub-project part of your main context, and you have a separate folder for runbooks. The runbooks are going to be a theme in the next part of the talk. But this is essentially what it might look like. You have a folder where you dedicate the work in that folder to be the agent that will live there, having the folder as context, as its main context, can also access the other folders and the other projects and the other agents. It's not something I explicitly have in the talk, but I can talk a little bit about, because agents are cool and sub-agents are cool as well. And I'm losing time. Okay, moving on. Next one, emergent runbooks. So, what is this about? What if the documentation wrote itself, Captain? Again, agents write stuff. If you're doing anything agentic, you know, is writing a lot of the lines and you just manage intention. What I found is that we are now able to produce. I might be getting too fast. Yeah, I'll dump it all, and you guys figure it out. So we know that writing the lines themselves, we're managing intention more than we're managing the specific lines that are being written. This happens for documentation, this happens for code. What is interesting is that when an agent has a CLI, has access to the same terminal that the human does, it can actually do operations for you. As an example, last night I had an outage on a WordPress website. A WordPress website that I've never actually managed. I recently inherited. I don't much care for it. I don't know how to do it. And what I did do was I had the project folder, and that project folder had some useful documentation, like what's the address of this service, what is the IP address, how to SSH into it, what is running on it. And I literally said, the site is down, what's happening? And because the agent has this documented, it was able to identify what I meant by the website is down, identify how to get there, and it knew what it was running, so it knew how to look at what was in there. What I didn't tell you is how this documentation got in there in the first place. Jumped it down. Yes, it was able, super cool story, it managed to get the website back up. Sorry. But the thing is, this might feel like a lot of documentation happened. Like, how did that documentation? I had to be very judicious, very disciplined to write all those things and put it in the right place so the agent would know. And actually the secret was, I didn't set up the infrastructure, the agent did. When I was going to inherit the project, what I did was, I don't know anything about running a WordPress website, but that's okay, I don't care too much, so I'll experiment. So what I did was I started a blank folder, started Claude Code, and I said, our goal is not to write code. Our goal is to inherit this WordPress website that is coming from an agency. We talked a little bit about what that meant, a little psychotherapy for me, and what next steps might look like. We got an archive file, we provisioned a web server together, fun times. It failed, it tried again, it continued to fail, it tried again. It managed to set something up, and then there wasn't enough space because we bought the wrong sort of hosting. And then it, for me, all managed by me, but through it, I was not driving anything else. I was not opening websites, I was not going to cloud accounts. I was on the CLI talking to Cloud Code. And through using it, we together did the process of tearing down the bad infrastructure, setting up the good infrastructure, managing the move of that website, getting it live. Through that process, we generated tons of plans. You've seen plan files and markdown files in your Claude Code or whatever agentic tool you're using. We generated a lot of that. What I was careful to do was ask it to be tidy. Hey, let's make sure we remember this for later. Hey, any passwords, make sure you add them to the right password vault. Me having done this generated the right amount of documentation to make it easy for me last night, true story, site was down, what's wrong? It logged in, there's a lock on my SQL. This is preventing the WordPress to work. This is probably because we provisioned not enough memory. What do you want to do? And I said, get it back up. It restarted. And then it said, this probably will come up again. Maybe we should consider new infrastructure. And I said, not really, I don't want to spend money on that. We ended up coming up and setting up a caching strategy. Also something that I haven't done very often or especially for WordPress websites or explicitly in Nginx. We did it, it works. And all while I was fine-tuning this presentation. So this is kind of the gist of the talk. That's the talk, really. There's not a lot of extra things. I can talk more, but, slides. But that's the gist of it. What I accomplished, and I think is relevant to share, is this pattern of writing documentation with the help of the agent as you are solving problems, which I think solves a big issue of having to do a lot of work up front. That is a concept of that we usually I carry historically. We need to plan, we need to write plans, we need to write documentation. This is going to take a lot of time up front. And it doesn't have to be, it can be exploratory. And that exploration is not garbage. It's learnings, and you can produce really good documentation out of it. Now I know I screwed the page. I lost about 5 minutes into this. Okay, that's okay. I'll get flagged down when it's time. So yeah, we cover this, do the work together first. Yeah, we've done this. Yeah. Another really interesting thing is documentation has a habit of lying to you. Oh yeah, give me a second. I need to see. Okay. Yes. Okay. The documentation has a habit of lying to you. What does that mean? You write documentation once, in a few days, it's wrong now, because the project evolved and the documentation did not. AIs are actually really great at writing documentation. And it's actually nice to have that documentation in place. And what you will see is that if there's failure and you're using the agent to run through that documentation, we can self-correct. This is what it might look like. Essentially, having something as simple as this, where, hey, we're running through the documentation and we're finding failures, make sure you document that. I've been doing that explicitly. I feel like I'm not smart enough to put this in my Claude MD, but just this practice of it's failing and document the changes. Document what it should look like. Why is it failing? So runbooks, I didn't actually explain what runbooks are. I assumed everyone knows. Just a term for the industry for documentation about how to run your software. Essentially, how do you start the server? How do you stop the server? How do you stand up a new instance? If this error is happening, what should you do? And they are documentation. They are notoriously bad at running themselves until agents. Now, historically, if they were good, they would have why they exist. But what they often have guaranteed is commands to run, like how to shift from commands to commands, what options might be there. But why the command is there is really important. What are you trying to achieve with this command? If you have that documented, you have, that term is really bad. You have the ability to have runbooks that run themselves. Well, where a script would fail with things like, the disk is full, or things are not where I expect them to be in general, they're very deterministic. And this happens. I'm deploying, I am doing things, I suddenly find something that was not expected. I fail, exit code 1. Whereas the exact same instructions with an agent look like this. I'm running, I did half of the thing, I realized that what I expected was not there, I reacted. I decided to find options. I managed to do the thing. Now, this is entirely different because documentation as it exists so far, and when you do ops by yourself, you're following step by step, and sometimes if you've done SRE, you know sometimes these docs are long, tons of different commands, really complex commands that have a lot of minutiae in the options, in the parameters, and you might be talking about hundreds of them for a complex system. The ability to know this command failed, why, backtrack, what was different, oh, I realized checking, oh, I realized I missed a step, or there was a step that did not have the right conditions. These are all something the agent can react to. It can also tell you, I don't know, or this is not working, or you can see it's not working, and you can interact with it, give it guidance. So an expired password isn't necessarily a failure, it's a slight detour. Now, the other part of this talk, and I promise to be faster because I think I see some faces falling asleep. I know you guys expected something much more interesting 5 minutes, got it. I know you guys probably expected better out of me, and I'll do better next time.
Next time.
But I promise.
What's this down talk?
I'm asleep. It's the meat. Okay, so where was I? So the formalization specter. I'm gonna pick up the energy. Actually, I'm gonna pause. I need water. So not all knowledge deserves a document. And you guys know this, right? We always have to be judicious about how we document, where we document, what's important and what isn't. Even with LLMs, we have to choose our prompts wisely. However, supporting documentation is thicker than that. This was a good quote. The mistake is a 200-page wiki that nobody reads, or nothing at all. It seems like that's the only two options. What agents allow us to do, and I really enjoy this pattern, is that, I didn't come up with this phrase, knowledge earns its form. And what that means is essentially that you get to discover what gets solidified into different levels of knowledge. So being able, so in a chat room, or in a chat interface, you have running conversation. You don't care about the details of the conversation. Some details you care about, some don't. And that's ephemeral. Like, rarely you go back to those conversations. You always start a new conversation usually. However, suddenly some things you care about. Oh, we're planning some work. Do a plan doc, a markdown on the working directory. That's fine. That's one level of solidification. It's only useful for the period that you want to use it for, right? I'm migrating a server from one place to the other. I don't care about the details of the migration later on. I care about the outcome. So the plan itself is also a little bit ephemeral. It's persistent because I need it to be used in multiple sessions maybe, but it's not something I care too deeply about in 2 months or in a year. However, some operations we care about and we do often. So there's this, I created this middle layer, maybe not necessary, I thought it was cute. Might delete later. So the SOP folder, SOP is a standard operating procedure. So essentially, is this happening often? Maybe we need to have a process for this. And eventually, this process, we might do it so often, we want it built into a skill that is repeatable and reusable. Tickets are actually a really interesting phenomenon, not exactly in that stack. They cover the whole gamut. Why? Because they allow you to, they are both the history of the project that you're doing, what you did in the past, what you're doing next. They are tasks for you to collaborate with other agents, with other humans, whatever, but they are also ways of creating groups of context that are dedicated to a single task. This is actually really useful when you're planning. You break things down into pieces and you place these things into whatever system you're using. I'm calling them tickets here because I've been getting a lot of value out of that. Maybe GitHub issues, maybe whatever system you use, ClickUp tickets, whatever. I get a lot of value out of having this breakdown in tickets, which allows us to then dive deeper into each of these sections when they're like mini projects. And you can actually plan individually, go through a full iteration of a project inside a ticket. And that, for me, has been giving me a lot of value. So, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. So essentially, the gist of these slides, this next slide, is essentially you plan, you work through the plan, and you start documenting as you feel the need. Yeah, so the one thing that I think is useful to say, and then I'll move on, is this idea of compounding. You start with nothing, you start aggregating, you start building things, and you start compounding that information. And the value of that is, because I built the server with the AI, I can then have the AI easily bring it back up. If I had no context last night to check what was happening, I would not have been able to fix it. Maybe I would have been able to fix it tomorrow. Not in the meantime, not in this context where I had to worry about doing other stuff. So yeah, I sort of stumbled into this slide. What was I thinking? Where's the, God damn it. There was supposed to be a QR code. That was the end of the talk. There's I have two companies. My QR codes are missing.
They're both sponsors.
They're both sponsors, yeah. God damn it. If you're interested, so I have two companies that they're both hiring. If you want, I have the QR codes on my phone.
That's great.
No cats, but missing QR codes. Let's
Should've
go.
done the cats.
I have no cats. I don't have internet. Okay, thank you. Questions? That's it.